Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Pod of War Games Cast. I'm your host, EOF Gizmo, joined by Massive Das, Chris Bengelli.
Hello everyone.
And of course, Xbox Live, CW Lanky.
Hello.
Who's in a mystical, cybery place today, it seems.
I love it, Chris. Does Chris even notice anything?
Yeah, I noticed. I didn't know.
Chris is like, oh, that's not what Taunton looks like. Hang on a minute. Hang on a sec. So yeah, Craig literally can't get out of this. I think that's why it's still there.
Stuck in it forever.
And obviously this episode won't be ended prematurely by cramp, so...
That's so funny on my last episode, because no one knows what happened other than us. It's just...
It's honestly, because I clicked the button and it didn't change, so I presumed it was still recording. So 10 minutes got not recorded where it said it was recording, so that's brilliant. Excellent stuff. So guys, it's Halloween. No one's dressed up. I was going to, but I can't be asked.
I've got a kind of a Friday the 13th t-shirt on.
I mean, I've got Bill and Ted Wild Stallions, so that's what I've got. Well, Chris has just got his usual garb.
Game of Thrones. Yeah,
Game of Thrones, which is a horror show. It's definitely a horror show. If you remember how bad that last season was. So we're going to have a horror-themed episode, but before we get to that good stuff, let's talk about our purchases and our games we've played. Let's start with Craig. Craig, what have you been doing, kid?
No purchases, Dave. I'm sorry. I've let you down again.
One day.
And all I've played is more Back 4 Blood. I've now finished the actual campaign on the first difficulty gap, which is called Rookie, I believe. Which sounds like easy, but it's actually like quite a good balanced difficulty. And the issue this game seems to have is there's two difficulties after this, and apparently they are like impossibly hard. And that is coming from like Simon, who, as we know, is like obsessive, like grinding on those sorts of games. Yeah. So that kind of might do the game a bit of a disservice, because I can imagine a lot of people will just start it on, don't know, I think it's like Veteran, the next difficulty is called, and just giving up because it's too difficult. Which might, like I said, I think that might hurt the game quite a bit, because once you've done the first playthrough, it might be like, oh, what more is there to do?
Yeah.
Personally, there's like a few like missable achievements. There's kind of collectibles, but not. There's just like random like statues that you have to like stare at in the odd level, and it unlocks achievements. So I'm going to go through and get that sort of thing. So I'm just going to go through and like pick up as many achievements as I can. I did enjoy very much just the base campaign playing through. The final boss is kind of difficult. It took me like 4 or 5 attempts with different like randoms, basically. Kind of got lucky in the end, because I think I actually was like just went down as one of our teammates like killed the boss to finish the level, and I'd like just nearly died. So very lucky to actually get that in the end. But yeah, I carry on playing a little bit of that before Forza comes out, and then the only other thing I played is more Scarlet Nexus, which I'm now like 21 hours in. And I'm still on the first playthrough as the guy. I've not started the second one yet. I think I'm on the last like chapter. I think they're called phases in this. I think I'm about to start that. It's good so far. It does get more and more heavy in terms of just you watching it as opposed to playing it, which can be a bit frustrating sometimes, especially as the story it starts off quite good, but it gets very convoluted towards the end. I was keeping up with it for most of it, but now even I'm like, wait, what?
It's got anime, has it? It's got so anime.
There's time travel and backwards and forwards, and and even I'm now like, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on anymore. I kind of know who the bad guys are. I assume we're gonna fight them in the last phase and save the world.
Maybe.
Hopefully. That'd be good. So yeah, hopefully I would have finished it by next week. I'll finish the first playthrough by next week and maybe started the second one as the girl. But yeah, the combat and that continues to be very good, and it's very flashy and fun. So yeah, I'll carry on playing for that, and that is it from me.
Very, very concise as always, Master Craig. Well, I've got 2 pickups. One of them I haven't purchased. My girlfriend purchased, but I've got it here anyway. That's Mario Party Superstars. Played a couple rounds already. It's so much fun. It's just the old ones, but they've redone them. It looks awesome. Like, it's so good. If you like party games, this is the one. It's got online play now, which I know is crazy because it's 2021, but it's got online play and it works. It's got the online minigame mode that works really well as well, and that's really fun. So That's a good one. My other pickup arrived about 10 minutes ago, and that's because there was a... Craig is just going to be disappointed by this. There was a money off code to get me a game cheaper, and I was like 15 quid, 20 quid for a game, whatever. And it's a game I'm not going to play. So let's just get this out of the way. It's Shin Megami Tensei 3 HD Nocturne, or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, it's a remake of a JRPG on the Switch, Craig. So that's going to get played. So that's going on.
Did we say those are really hard as well?
This one's very hard. Yeah, this one is very hard.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought if any of us came for that, it would have been the PS4 version because of trophies, at least.
This version had money off.
It doesn't make a difference, does it?
So, I'm probably more
Neither version would get.
I'm probably slightly more likely to play it on Switch than I am PS4, if that's the argument. But it's not a high percentage. If I finish this, I'll let you know. Don't worry. If I play it, I'll let you know. But yeah, I bought that. Other than that, the only thing I've been playing more Football Manager. I'm still really good at that. I've won the FA Trophy and got promoted with Gateshead. I know. Nice. Season 2's going well. I'm sixth, I think, in the National League, so well done me. And the only other actual game, the only one that Craig cares about, I've been playing more Far Cry 6, about 10, 12 hours in. I'm encountering the usual Ubisoft problems, though. So this game is so glitchy.
But is it even a Ubisoft game if it hasn't got glitches in it?
Well, it's so glitchy. See, there's a couple missions where you have to have people follow you and stuff, and they get caught in fucking scenery, and they go under the map, and then you've got physics just shoot stuff and people just everywhere in the sky, and then you'll have bits where your guns lock up. Like I said, I have fallen through the world a couple of times, a couple of save game glitches as well, which is really annoying because obviously everything.
Did you lose progress?
I've lost an hour. It's not too bad, but it's getting worse. The more I'm playing it, the glitchier it's getting. And I'm playing it on PS5 as well, so I'd expect that version to be arguably the most stable. I'm not playing it in 4K. I'm playing it in 1080p, performance-y mode. You know what I mean? So it should be the most stable version of the game, and it's struggling. So I want to keep going through, but it's putting me off a bit because I want to enjoy it because it's stupid fun, but then it just kicks me in the teeth when I'm getting going. You know what I mean? Especially on the PS5 because obviously the controller dies after 3 hours. So it's if I'm sitting here for a sesh and I've only got an hour of battery in my controller and I've got to redo the hour I've just done, it's the quickest way for me to put it down and not pick it back up. So, but what I've played is fun. So hopefully it gets better through the months. It's one of those that's going to be 20 quid by January.
Yeah, because I just seen in work Watch Dogs Legion's 20 quid on PS5 and.
Yeah, so what's that, 8, 9 months ago, whatever that came out. So maybe this time last year. So if you wait, you can get Ubisoft games for really cheap. I would recommend playing it, but I would recommend waiting till a couple more patches. And I've seen Phoenix Rising for less than 15, brand new on Amazon, on a couple of different platforms. So just wait. But yeah, that is what I've been playing, boys and girls. So let's get to the main party, the bit everyone comes and stays for. It's Chris Pengelly. What have you been buying and playing, Chris?
Well, I also had an email from Amazon about a £5 voucher for the first 10,000 customers, but I didn't actually buy a game because also the Lego store on Amazon had a discount thing as well. So I got it actually came yesterday afternoon.
The Audi Quattro.
Audi Quattro S1, which obviously you know about from your Art of Rally. And that, so yeah, I got that.
And every racing game that's ever been made.
Yes, I picked that up, and I know we got it in work, similar ones to this, and then 18 quid, and I got this for 9.80 because of the vouchers and stuff. So I will be building that tomorrow. So that is my only pickup.
Can we rebrand the channel to Chris's Lego channel?
Yeah, you can do that. His own channel should be that, really, shouldn't it?
Just him putting his Lego together, it'd be like ASMR, just calmly talking us through it, telling us some stories.
Yeah, so that was my only pickup, and then I only.
You didn't buy any games?
No, I didn't buy any games.
I'm proud of you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm not bought any game, and I've only I played 2 games. One of them was Metroid Dread, which I finished. Eventually, because I am dreadful at it.
It's alright.
So I finished that finally, because you were saying about boss took you a couple goes. A couple of the late game bosses in Metroid Dread are pretty difficult. Because on my Switch, because obviously the Switch gives you time where it's played game for like over 20 hours, but the obviously in-game one is like 11:40 something, so something like that. So you can see the extra time put in. Obviously a couple of times I left it paused and that. Yeah, but really good game. Cool, cool boss fights. I think it looks really good for a Switch game and that, especially like some of the levels, the forest levels and stuff like that. So I'm more excited for Metroid Prime 4 now than I was like when it was announced, because I had no like affinity with the Metroid series. So I'm more excited for that. So yeah, really good. I played that, and the only other thing I played was Dark Pictures anthology House of Ashes, which ties into the whole spooky thing, which is the same pretty much as the last two. You know what you're getting. You're getting like a 4 to 5 hour interactive, scary movie game thing, and that's it. They're like a budget game. Like it cost me 20 quid. I think its RRP is only like 25 as well. So you know what you're sort of getting from that sort of game. Yeah, and it was good. Like the big star, this one's Ashley Tisdale. She was like in High School Musical or something. Like, because they seem to have like a big star. Like
you say it like you don't know for a fact. You love High School Musical, Chris.
Yeah, it's all about Zac Efron. That's like the only High School Musical person I know. And obviously now this Ashley Tisdale woman, who was in this game. Yeah, it's fine if you like the previous two, and you're gonna mostly like this one.
The Chris Penguin. He used to write reviews, you know.
Is that
Is that it, Chris?
Yeah. So has neither of you played the N64 Switch thing?
Oh, I haven't
not started yet.
Oh yes, I have played N64 Switch.
There you go.
As well.
I thought you weren't going to get it.
No, I got it with Family Pack.
Oh yeah, you got it. You got a deal. Okay, fair.
Yeah. The only thing I've not played anything individually, so I've not played some any Ocarina of Time, no Sin and Punishment or anything like that. I've played some online multiplayer of it. I've played some Mario Tennis, played some Mario Kart, played some Star Fox 64, and played some Winback as well. So played a bit of multiplayer. Still really fun. Again, playing in multiplayer and like on Discord, yapping like we are now and stuff. So it's a bit different than just playing Ocarina of Time by yourself. The only real issue was trying to get it to connect in the first place, because it's Nintendo, and I don't think that's like people making out on Twitter as like, oh, the N64 online app doesn't work. No, I think it's just Switch is online, not the app. It's Nintendo is like how you got to join it and stuff like that. It's a bit weird, and then it's whoever's got the worst connection. It's like their the quality thing and that. But once got it all working, Mario Kart 64 is still a fun time playing online multiplayer. Now,
kind of funny. We're like slagging this off like crazy at one stage. I think one of their videos is literally called like the N64 collection is a mess or something like that.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound like it's maybe as bad as they're making out.
I think people have been dramatic from what I've seen. Yeah, like there's some emulation quirks for stuff like I saw the big one is there's like so N64 games had fog to like mask loading, and because of the way it emulates, like the fog is gone from some things, and in like one part of Zelda it's like really bad, and like that's kind of it, and people are making out like it's awful, and I still don't think it's too expensive.
Yeah,
I still think like, people are going mad about it.
The input lag for like Super Mario 64 is like really bad, and it's like 0.01.
Yeah, it's like exactly the same as any version that isn't a wired controller.
Yeah,
like it's exactly the same as the one that they just put out on the Switch.
Yeah, I guess it's also like I've paid, I think, because there was 8 of us spread, I've paid £4 more for the year, and for me for £4 it's fine. I guess if you paid the whole 50 quid or something by yourself, you might not be as happy about it. And again, I've only played online multiplayer, which played for about an hour and a half. Like the only thing we didn't play was Dr. Mario 64 was the only one that was full player that we didn't play.
Why?
But we played everything.
It's a great game.
We played all the rest, and yeah, it was so it was good. And then if they add Mario Golf to it, we'll play that like we play Mario Tennis. So
yeah, it's the N64 is interesting because I think, like I said, I don't think it's bad value at all. Even if you just go so for me, I'd have to buy the £35 for the year thing, right? Which mine's up for renewal next month, so I'm just gonna wait until my one runs because I get £1 off. So I'm just gonna wait. I don't need to play any of those games straight away. Then when I renew it, I'll just get the big set. It's fine. Doesn't make it. I'll probably play the Mega Drive collection stuff more than I'll play the N64.
That's also the thing. Everyone's talking about the N64 games because I guess Nintendo, but the Mega Drive selection, because again, no one's really taken much notice. It's actually really good. It's got like Castlevania Bloodlines and stuff on it. It's like, that's...
Which you already own, I think. So I don't know why you're excited for that.
Yeah, I own it somehow.
You own it on Xbox?
But it's a really good game.
I saw this and I was like, I'm going to call you out on the podcast for this. Because you're like, I'm going to play Bloodlines. I was like, Chris, you've owned it for like 2 years. You loaded it up to get an achievement.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's a really good game and it's on there.
Well, play it then.
Gunstar Heroes is...
That's why I play it, Dave.
I know. But yeah, Gunstar Heroes is good on it, and having
Streets of
Rage
2.
online multiplayer is cool, and Sonic 2's online multiplayer is kind of funny because it's not really there, but you can do it. So, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. Phantasy Star as well. It's just a weird thing, but I just don't know. The N64 stuff, I think when F-Zero and Paper Mario are on there, then I'll be genuinely excited. I know there was quite a big leak of a load of new games that they're planning to put out for both sets, so it'll be more than worth the value by the time January rolls around. So nice. I said that you've just reminded me. The only other thing I have played, so I played the Metroid Dread demo because they put a demo out after the game came out, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to try and get that for Christmas from my partner. But yeah, Metroid's cool, guys, and it's also kind of spoopy. So that takes us nicely into our topic of the show. Tots. So it's Halloween. This is dating this episode dramatically because once it goes out, that's it. The spookiness ends. And Christmas begins, as all three of us work in retail, we know. So we're going to talk about 3 spooky, scary, creepy games that we've played in the past that we enjoyed. I didn't really give out too many rules for this. I know usually when I have to do this, I have to make strict Chris rules. I don't have the energy today to make strict Chris rules, so I'm just going to have to trust that Chris will be an adult and not just pick, I don't know, the Resident Evil collection that came out on the Amiga, and stuff like that. So we'll start with me, because why not? Because I'm here and I'm the least spooky of us all, because I don't like being scared in any way. And the game I've chosen for my first choice is Days Gone on the PS4, which is a zombie action adventure-y kind of game. So it's not strictly a horror game, but it is, it's just it's kind of survival horror-y. It's got lots of zombies in it. So hey, and I quite enjoyed this game because obviously we take the mick out of Chris for this quite a lot. I mean, Craig really likes to remind him how many times he's tried to play.
Is it free now? 3 times?
3 or 4 times or something like that.
I've played it. I've tried to play it twice, and I have it installed to play it a third time.
I would just uninstall it, Chris. I don't think you're going to get there. But yeah, I surprised myself by how much I really enjoyed this game. Because I literally have an irrational fear of zombies. Playing zombie games is just not a thing that I enjoy doing in any way at all. But this game, it was fun. It's a really interesting game because the story's really good. It's a shame that we're not going to get a sequel. And it has this kind of slow burn, which I think is what turns off a lot of people. Because it starts real slow. The first 4 or 5 hours, you're kind of going through the motions where it's kind of teaching you how to maintain and upgrade your bike and the sort of the importance of fuel and ammo and stuff. And then by the midpoint, the game kind of goes nuts, and you get the big hordes and you get the big story revelations. You go to separate parts of the map, and it's just a fun ride to the end. And I really enjoyed that game a lot more than I was expecting to do. I played it with a friend. We were chatting while we were playing. I think we both just picked up in a sale. And we're just going to chat the whole time we play. And yeah, it's one of those weird games that I don't think people really talk about anymore for as a PlayStation exclusive, whereas I kind of feel like it should be it should be held a lot higher than it is. I personally enjoyed it a lot more than the first Last of Us, a lot more. And I know people are well, Last of Us has got a good story because it's so emotional. It's well, gameplay wise, Days Gone is a much better experience. So yeah, that's my first.
It had a big resurgence as well, didn't it? Because it came out, it reviewed okay, and then no one played it because it reviewed not it didn't get 90 or whatever.
It's the anti-reviewer game.
6 months later, suddenly everyone was oh, this game's really good. And
it got a few patches. This is the thing. It's like you're saying, sequel. It sold really well. It just critically, it wasn't.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think I got a bit annoyed as well when I remember watching the reviews for it, and it was one of the, I think they had a pre-release build, which doesn't help, and then it's quite a slow game. So I think reviewers at the time were just like, oh, it's I can't, to fully enjoy the game you need to put a minimum of like 20, 30 hours in, and I don't think sometimes your IGNs and your GameSpots don't like doing that unless it's a trendy game, and Craig knows exactly what I mean. It can be very easily thrown to the wolves a little bit and be like, oh, it's a 7. When it's like I said, mechanically, if you put it next to The Last of Us, it's a way better game than The Last of Us. Like mechanically, as a game, it's just a better game. But like, sure, that's just gonna have a story or whatever. Like, well, that's completely subjective. But like, there's no reason why one should be a 10 and one should be a 7. Put it that way. So I think it got a bit unlucky. But that's games, right? I mean, we've only got to look at like Cyberpunk get like 4.3 or whatever on PlayStation, so maybe even less than that. And Chris liked it. So don't listen to reviewers.
Balan
Wonderworld was a 10 out of 10 Chris Pengelly game. Yeah. But to everyone else, it was utter trash. But you just trust the people you trust, guys. Don't just look at review scores. You don't need to. Isn't that right, Chris?
Yes.
Exactly. So we'll move on to The Biggest Dog. Chris Pengelly, what is your first horror/spoopy game?
Well, kind of touched on it without touching on it with House of Ashes, and it's also a PS4 exclusive, and I don't think it's been ported to PC, or it's not yet, and it's also from Supermassive, and that's Until Dawn, which, again, not many people talk about anymore. It come and went. I think it sold quite well, it reviewed pretty well, and it was sort of put Supermassive on the map, and obviously they've continued doing those sort of games with Bandai Namco instead of Sony. Until Dawn is still the best of those 4 games that they've made. It did the whole, let's have a Hollywood actor sort of thing. They had, is it Hayden Panettiere? She's called. She was in Heroes.
And they had Rami
Matey
Malek.
from Agent of the Shield. Yeah, and I forgot he was in it as well.
He was in it as well. Had the main guy from Agents of Shield, and had Rami Malek before he was kind of really big. Whereas I think he got really big just afterwards.
Because that Mr. Robot.
Yeah, and the Freddie Mercury documentary film, whatever.
Yeah, so it had a really good cast. It's more of a teen horror film thing.
It's a cabin in the woods, Friday the 13th type of job, isn't it?
Yeah, that sort of thing where you got these bunch of teens gone to the, like you said, the cabin in the woods, and then you have all your choices. You switch between all the characters and all that good stuff. And yeah, it was originally going to be a PS3 game that used the Move, and then it transferred over to the PS4, and like I said, it put Supermassive on the sort of map, and they've continued to do those sort of games.
Yes. Yeah, and it hit right at the end, around the midpoint, I guess, maybe the peak of the kind of Telltale type of game thing. 'Cause it was quite an early PS4 game. I think it's really I think that's why people were
sort of forgotten about it, because it was so sort of early in the PS. People still remember Knack and Kill Zone, because it's right at the start, and people forget things like Until Dawn, even though it's pretty good.
Yeah, and as I said, it was at the peak of those type of games. I think that genre is as good as niche now. I don't think it's dead, but it's become, if you have to like those type of games now, it's really like Life is Strange is still a thing. And even that game came out 2 months ago, and I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore.
There's so many of them now, and that's the thing.
Yeah, it's easy for an indie, it's not easy. It's a doable genre for indie developers as well. So it's it's become a lot easier to do because there's a lot more examples of it. So it's okay, I get that. But yeah, it was a very good game. I know lots of people that I remember when Pete bought his PS4, that was the game that I got him for his birthday or for Christmas. You and your girlfriend are going to really enjoy this.
And it's you don't like scary stuff, but it's one of those horror games that's not scary due to it being a teen horror.
From what I've seen of it, it's pretty scary. But you're completely dead and cold, Chris, whereas I'm a big wuss. Yeah. So maybe it's in the middle. There's quite a lot of dismemberment and stuff. So
yeah,
it's pretty,
I guess a bit like Saw type stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty gory and scary for me. So it's a no for me. It's a no for me. Definitely not. Too many jump scares. Wouldn't play it. Speaking of jump scares, Craig.
So I'm weird when it comes to horror games, because I love horror films, but I've never played a lot of horror games. Don't know why. Just never really. I think it might be because a lot of them historically have been pretty hard. I think that's kind of why I've maybe stayed away from them. But I'm going to start with a banter pick, which isn't really that spooky or horror, but it does have zombies in it, so I'm saying it counts. And that is Dead Rising 3. Way more of a comedy game than horror, but it was I think it was a launch Xbox One game.
Correct.
In the glory days of Xbox, at the launch of the Xbox One, which actually got a lot of decent games.
The launch lineup was better on Xbox than it was on PlayStation, but the launch message was a lot worse on Xbox than it was on PlayStation.
Yeah, it was a strange time, but that game was amazing. I actually played. I think it was Dead Rising 2. I played like a demo for on the 360, and I might have actually bought it for like £2 on eBay. I played it for like half an hour and thought it was absolute hot garbage, and sold it like the day later or something like that. It was so bad. I hated it. But I bought this because it looks so much better. Obviously, it's like a much bigger open world. It was kind of revolutionary at the time for just how many like zombies and enemies were on the screen. Like, obviously, it was a massive leap for that gen, and seeing like the massive hordes then was just like crazy. Like, you go on the highway and there'd just be like hundreds of them in front of you. It had this. Obviously had the silly Dead Rising weapons, but also had like the silly vehicles, which were just great fun. Just mowing through like hundreds of zombies on those like mental vehicles with like turbines at the front, and you're chewing them up, and there's blood everywhere. It was great. And it had a lot of like silly, crazy boss fights as well. A lot of like funny boss fights. I think you fight like a woman in like a mobility scooter who's like a carrot and just screaming at you. It was great fun. So yeah, definitely Dead Rising 3 the one for me. Even though it's not really a horror game.
It's got zombies in it. I feel like it's Dead Rising 3 the one that had all the crazy Street Fighter DLC, Chris.
Yeah, I think so.
The what was it called? It was like Dead Rising Super Turbo HD Omega.
Yes,
like it was a proper like piss take of Capcom. Weirdly, I've actually played almost all of the Dead Rising games, considering how, again, I really don't like zombies. I played the first one when it came to 360. I played the second one. I even played they did like a weird Prologue downloadable game. It was called Case Zero, I think, for 2. It was set before 2. I played 2. 2 is fine for me. I get it's not as if you've played 3 first, I can see why 2 is like not as good. And then obviously I did play 3 at launch. There's a stream somewhere on my channel of me and Pete playing 3 when it came out. Because obviously the Xbox One had a Kinect, so we used that to stream. God, those were the days, eh? Yeah, it's a fun series, Dead Rising. It really is. It's kind of like a joke version of Days Gone in a way. Because you build your own weapons. I think that's one of the things that I think I loved about Dead Rising, and you probably did as well. That you did lots of crazy combined weapons of like teddy bear guns and stuff that you could make. Yeah. The vehicles were the same, so yeah, it's funny.
It's a shame 4 was really
people hated 4.
It looked really bad. 4. It looked like 2. It like they like it felt like 3 was like a massive step forward, and then 4 was just like, oh, we're just going like completely backwards. Yeah,
maybe it had a smaller budget, and it was multi-platform as well, wasn't it? So maybe it was a little bit less focused. Also, I always forget about all of the Dead Rising games. I think maybe not the first one, but I think 2 and 3. 3 definitely is a really good co-op. It was a really good co-op game because the whole game was co-op. Because one of you played as the main character, and the other one plays a guy called Dick, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
So, and I really enjoyed it's one of those if that game ever came like for £1 and me and you were like, oh, we need a co-op game to play, Dead Rising 3 is a fun time in co-op, really fun time in co-op. So obviously way less scary, but a fun time nonetheless. Very good. So is that background to me now?
Back to you.
So the second game I'm going to choose, obviously terrifying, fear-infusing game that is a Nintendo GameCube launch title, is of course Luigi's Mansion, which is a game where you capture ghosts in vacuum. Yes, it's a horror. It's a Halloween themed game, Craig. All right, so just take it. I know it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
Really, just a good game. It was a launch title on the GameCube, which obviously is another one of those games that's a bit revisionist and with people kicking off about it because it wasn't Mario. It's essentially Resident Evil Ghostbusters, starring Nintendo characters, and it's just a really well-made game. Like, it's kind of Metroidvania-y in a very small way because you kind of have to
go back.
Yeah, you have keys to go different things, and you get different powers that let you access new areas. The boss fights are really fun. It's relatively, it's not hard, but for a Nintendo game, like, you don't just regen all your health straight away all the time. and stuff like that. It's quite a short game. I think I beat it in about 5 hours, maybe less.
Yeah, because that's also why people were kicking off at launch, because it was like short. So it was like, oh, it's not Mario and it's short. We can finish like the big launch game in like less than a day. It's actually a really good game. It's like GameCube was kind of weird. Like Wind Waker had the same problem, and now it's like it's always been my favorite, but now it's like one of the like most loved Zelda games. And it's like yeah,
it's a lot of revisionist. The GameCube is the most revisionist console, apart from maybe the Dreamcast, that I've ever seen. Because like at the time, people didn't like this stuff. Like they were so annoyed that like, oh, Nintendo's just making kiddie games. And you're like, well, they made Eternal Darkness, which is one of the best horror games, and they made Metroid Prime, which is like this kind of eerie, creepy first-person shooter. But it's like, no, they only make Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. They only make Mario Party and stuff. But yeah, and obviously people hated Wind Waker when it came out. People forget this now because everyone's like, oh, Wind Waker's my favourite Zelda game. People were so pissed that it was cartoony. They were so angry that it was cartoony. But if I were to show you that and Twilight Princess, like, so if I would show Craig, who doesn't care about Nintendo, he'd be like, Wind Waker is the better looking game, like, by a mile. It holds up, you know? Whereas, like, as we've talked about before, like, early 3D games just look wank. Like, they just aged so badly because it's so easy now to, like, add lighting and textures and stuff to make stuff more realistic. So stuff from 10 years ago, you're just like, oh god, it's disgusting. But yeah, and Luigi's Mansion was a sufferer of that problem, but it was a fun game. I'm a really big Ghostbusters fan, and there traditionally hasn't been any good Ghostbusters games apart from the one that came out to like 360 really. So to get a kind of Ghostbustery Mario game was really fun for me, and it was probably the first night that I had my GameCube. It was probably the game that I just played until it was done. Like, I think I got it like a month after, so I got Smash with mine. So I think I was like, I'm going to play Luigi's Mansion. As soon as that was finished, it was just Smash. But yeah, it holds a special place. I actually haven't played the sequels because my girlfriend owns them. But I think the second was on 3DS, right?
Yeah.
Which I just never got around to.
And remember the first one got
They did a remaster of the first one, on 3DS. And my girlfriend has the third one, but she only has it digitally, annoyingly, on her Switch. So I need to go out and buy it myself if I want to play it. Because they didn't introduce the whole dual save thing until after she bought it. Craig, Nintendo and online is the worst in the world, especially if you live with someone or you share
Nintendo.
Games. I mean, they do make the best games, so they get away with it to an extent. They really do. Like I know it's hypocritical of everything I ever say about Sony, but Nintendo do make the best games. They're the only people that make local multiplayer. So Mario Party's great, Craig. What can I say? What can I say? But yeah, Luigi's Mansion, fun times. Right, Mr. Pengelly, what is your second horror?
I'm also going old. I'm going older than you. I'm going back to the PS1. It's not what you think it is.
Really? It's going to be Parasite Eve.
It is Parasite Eve 2. Dave is right on the money.
I know, Chris.
I was thinking Resident Evils and that, but you know, everyone's sort of like mentions Resident Evils and horror things. So I thought Parasite Eve 2 because it's a sort of like a dead series now from Square, because it was like their attempt to capitalize on the survival horror genre. The first game didn't come here in Europe. And that is more of an RPG with survival horror elements, where the second one was more of a survival horror with RPG elements. They sort of switched it around. So you can upgrade, so you can get XP for when you do like fight enemies, and that is all real-time battles. And now instead of turn-based sort of battles in the first one, you use your XP to like upgrade, because you have like Eve Parasite powers and stuff. Like you can do like a fire bolt thing, and you got all the Resident Evil like stuff where you can, you got to find certain items to unlock, stuff like that. And then obviously it's Japanese, so it's got the weird, crazy story, and it's just a series people forget about now. And I enjoyed it back in the day on the PS1. Again, there was a lot of those sort of games I was playing at the time, like Resident Evil 2, Silent Hill, and stuff. I do have the third birthday on PSP, but I haven't played much of it, and that one reviewed very badly, and it's sort of like killed the series. There was rumors of like a remake or a reboot, so maybe Square see how well Resident Evil's doing now, and we might get a new Parasite Eve from them. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a weird series because it's basically Square Enix's Resident Evil. That's basically what it is. It has the first game has one of the creepiest opening cinematics I think I've ever seen, especially because it's like the awful PS1 CG as well, and it's like people like explode in like an opera house, I think, right?
Yeah, that's
it's like
one.
really creepy. Like if I were to throw up for you, Craig, you'd be like, "What is like?" It's one of those games. If you were into the PS, if you were 10 years older and you were into the PS1, you would have probably bought that game. You'd be like, "This looks fucking mental. I want it."
Yeah, I'm watching it right now.
Yeah,
it's
the
crazy.
Turns into like the creature.
It's like blood or something, right? And it's like and
Yeah.
everyone starts exploding, apart from the main character when she was a child.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah, Anna or Ina, whatever.
Anna, I think probably.
Yeah.
Anna.
No, but it's not. No, it's not Anna. It's.
If I remember, wasn't the combat a bit weird in that game? Wasn't it like weirdly like turn-based?
The first one was turn-based, and the second one was real time.
The second one was Resident Evil. Like, the first one was like weird Final Fantasy.
Yeah, like I said, the first one's more of a RPG with horror elements, where they switched it for the second one. And then Third Birthday plays more like a cover-based shooter.
Yeah, I'd heard the Third Birthday was kind of wank. It was a PSP exclusive, wasn't it? So, what did you think of that, Craig?
Oh, I'm just watching a glittery girl shoot a big toad monster. That's where I am.
PS1 was a crazy time for video games.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Craig, are you ready for your second pick?
Let's do it. So I'm going to go for as Chris said before, a Resident Evil game. I'll be the first one to mention them. I go for the one that kind of got me into Resident Evil. Only recently that I've kind of got into Resident Evil games, and now it's kind of like one of my like favorite series now. It's what I look forward to every couple of years. I go for the Resident Evil 2 remake, which Chris will hate because he hates it.
For some reason.
Dave, I think you were in party chat for some of me playing this game.
Yes, I was, 100%.
And it was just me screaming and just being an absolute wuss because this game is genuinely terrifying. It is absolutely...
You couldn't have picked a more absolutely not game for me, by the way. I think the intro, we were in the fucking gas station. I tried to play on like the demo and I was like, nah, just no. Just absolutely not.
Yeah. I think because it was like the first. Well, I guess I played 5, but that's kind of like a different,
very different series at that point. Yeah.
I was gonna say, didn't you play Village before 2?
No.
I played Village. 7.
No, so I played 2, and then did I play 3 next? I can't remember.
I feel like you played 7 and then you played 3.
Maybe
because on Game Pass.
Yeah, I played 7 this year definitely because it was on Game Pass. It was one of my backlog games.
Yeah, because you did the DLC this year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Again, that probably like my second favorite so far. So that's like near 2, but 2 I think because it's the one that got me into it in the first place. It's such a good game. The story's very good. The setting is just iconic. Like the police station. I remember my first playthrough. Like there was like rooms I couldn't go in because I knew there was like God knows how many zombies and lickers or whatever were in those rooms, so I'd have to avoid them because I didn't know what I was doing. I ran out of ammo at one stage and was just running around like a headless chicken trying to survive for ages. So yeah, I love that game. Obviously did both playthroughs. I think I only did the like one difficulty on that one. I didn't go for the full like Shimoz like I did with 3, where I did like 4 or 5 playthroughs and all the difficulties. But yeah, very fun. Definitely would recommend Resident Evil 2, the remake, to anyone other than Chris.
So, Chris, while we're here, tell us why. Tell us why Resident Evil 2 Old Edition you prefer over Resident Evil 2 New Edition. And it can't just be it's a better game. You have to give some actual critique to why you prefer it.
Why do I prefer it? It is more of what I want from a survival horror game. It has more of the. It's like a weird like gameplay thing because it's one of the time going back from like Parasite Eve 2 with all the weird puzzles and stuff like that. Like you need to get 3 gemstones to put in this one statue, turn it 4 times backwards to unlock a door to open something else, to something like that. Like the weird, crazy survival horror puzzle things that were in the games at the time, which you don't really get, especially Resident Evil 3 remake, where they. I was
about to say, I feel like 2 has quite a lot.
Yeah,
of that.
2 does have that, but like especially the Resident Evil 3 remake, where they cut out the whole clock tower stuff and that, and it's like only slightly referenced near the start of the game. If I think there's like a little
Getting
plaque or
back to
something.
2.
Yeah, that is the different, and then also like the really bad acting and the campiness of Resident Evil 2 as well, where the remake is far more serious than that. I mean, it's like I said, it's a product of its time, and that's what I just sort of prefer. Isn't nostalgia, because like, how many times have I finished Resident Evil 2? How many different platforms have I finished it on? Like, I'm holding up the GameCube version. Like, I've finished it on there, Dreamcast, PS1. Like, most probably replayed it on PS2, backwards compatible. So nostalgia does play a bit part into it as well. And like, that sort of stuff, and like unlocking all the like items and that back in the day. You get like your Arnie, army gear and stuff like that. So.
Very good.
Yeah. I will put back Resident Evil 2 now.
Excellent. So we go to my final game. It's a game that I don't think either of you would guess if I gave you 10 guesses, because it's just
Grabbed by the Goonies.
Definitely not.
Oh.
It's not. You would honestly, Chris. You know me fairly well, but you don't know me that well. So this game, came out in 1999.
Okay.
It was published by Activision.
999.
What
console?
I'm not telling you. It's a survival horror game. It came out in 1999. So this is probably my own, like, one of the few horror games I went out and bought myself, and it is Blue Stinger on the Dreamcast.
Yes.
Yes, Chris knows. So Blue Stinger, Craig, is what I can only describe as like a weird budget Resident Evil hybrid with like Dino Crisis, kind of hybrid with kind of just madness, right? It kind of played a bit like Tomb Raider. It's very much of that era, in like the campy, Sega-y Resident Evil vibe. I think in Japan it had a fixed camera. It had the weird cinematic camera that Resident Evil has, whereas here is fixed behind the player, I think, for us. And I just really enjoyed it. It's nothing special. It's one of those weird games that, like, obviously my pool of horror games is very small compared to both of you. So it was really either that or Resident Evil 4. And I've talked about Resident Evil 4 on the channel before, and I don't really think it's that scary. I think it's definitely more of an action game, even than Blue Stinger, which is fairly actiony. But yeah, it just brings all that campy, awful acted goodness that you want from a late 90s horror game. It was a fun game to play. Obviously on the Dreamcast in '99, there wasn't a huge amount to choose from. I also played Code Veronica, but I really prefer this because I just Resident Evil, I think, just takes itself a little bit too seriously sometimes. It draws the fine line between like geopolitical, like corporate politics, and fucking stupid madness. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those series that is just, it's so up and down. One of the games will be so serious it hurts, and then another game you'll literally be like shirtless punching a boulder. So, which I think you do in 5, right, Craig? Is that the one you punch a boulder? Do you punch a boulder in 5, Craig, as Chris Redfield?
Oh, I don't know. It's been a long time
you
since
Yeah.
But I know it's referenced in Village.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Village is great, but not for me. But Blue Stinger. It's a bit of an out there pick, but it's one of those games from my childhood which helped cement my absolute fear of horror games. But I enjoyed it for what it was. Do you have any Blue Stinger anecdotes, Chris, as someone who owns every Dreamcast game?
I don't ever own every Dreamcast game. I'm missing like 5.
Shocking behaviour.
And one of them is sort of a horror game as well. Evil Twin. I'm missing that. Yeah, I didn't actually play much Blue Stinger.
You shocked me.
Yeah, I can't really add anything to that.
Because you didn't have a Dreamcast when it came out, did you?
Slightly outrushed.
You were a fake Dreamcast fan, like everyone else. Everyone else.
I was like 2000s, Dave.
It was after it was dead, Chris. It would have lived if you'd bought one. But no.
Yeah.
But no. You weren't there. You weren't there, Chris. When Sega needed you. What has Craig just seen?
I'm watching some Blue Stinger now. It's a boss fight with a lizard with a car mounted on the back.
Hell.
If you can remember that, Dave.
Yes, mate. The game is stupid, and I love it. That was what. So for Craig, who didn't know at the time, and Chris, who obviously didn't know at the time as well. That's what Sega was like on the Dreamcast. You'd get these games come out, and it would be like, what are we buying today? So sometimes it'd be like, Fighting Force 2 is my favorite example. I was like, oh, Fighting Force, that's just Streets of Rage. It was on the PS1. I'll buy Fighting Force 2. I'm like, why is this siphon filter? You'd be like, okay, I'm playing Fighting Force 2. At some point we'll do a Dreamcast episode that we'll just talk about Dreamcast, because I think we might have done one actually on my old channel.
Probably.
We'll make Craig play Dreamcast for a month and then gun to his head. Take his Xbox away.
There's like, I think there's like 15 Dreamcast games on Xbox.
Because of backwards compatibility. Yeah, the Xbox it's weirdly that game. Sega console. If you actually went and pulled like every Sega game, it's like it's missing Persona pretty much. Like everything else you can play on Xbox. It's like hilarious. You could make a Sega Xbox and have lots to play. Like it would be pretty funny. And that's just Yakuza. Yakuza would probably keep you busy for like 2 years. Oh, anyway.
But we can make Craig play Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2.
I don't think we could make him play Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and I don't think I'd want to let someone who didn't play them back in the day try and play them now. Someone who's... I 100% Sonic Adventure 1 like a year and a half ago, and I loved every second of it because I'm a freak, but I wouldn't subject anyone to it. I was like, could you see Craig doing the Big the Cat levels?
No.
Or Amy?
No.
Or dare I say Knuckles?
We're just making play Sonic Adventure 2 then.
I think Sonic Adventure 2 is worse, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff, mate.
Okay, we'll see. We'll discuss that off camera. Anyway.
That can be a review for you next week, Chris. You can play the next two.
I'm not going back to play Sonic
You play. You get to
I'm playing Ratchet and Clank.
You get to some Knuckles and Rouge levels on Sonic Adventure 2, and you'll quickly change your tune. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, who's next? Is it Chris next?
It is, mate.
Chris, let's end your section here with your third pick. That isn't Sonic Adventure 2.
Not Sonic Adventure 2. Right, I'm going for a real left field pick here. Because I think you're both going to go, it's not horror. But it sort of like sets it up at the start to be horror. Also, I picked it because I know Craig hates it as well.
Oh no.
And that's Gone Home.
That is not a horror game.
Yeah,
I'm
going to argue it is.
I would allow creepy at best.
It is creepy. It's set in a haunted mansion, and it subverts expectations with the whole story at the end. When I first played that, because I didn't know the story, I did think it was like a horror game, like a walking sim horror game.
I'm so sorry to the listeners that you've got to listen to Chris Spaghetti talk about Gone Home. No one deserves this.
It's such a I'm going to be a hipster with this choice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what, like I said, I thought I'm going to go for a totally out here pick. I'm going to avoid the Resident Evils and that.
So, I've never been more disappointed.
No Silent Hill, no Dead Space, no Evil Within. No, he's gone for Gone Home.
I've gone for Gone Home, yeah. If you don't know like the story of that game and you play it like for the first time, you would mostly think it's like a horror game.
It is a horrifying game, Chris. You're right. I shouldn't be throwing the G word around either. Around Gone Home. Gone Home's one of those things. It's you have to like a certain type of entertainment, I think, to like Gone Home. I don't think it's a particularly universal game / experience for the majority of gamers, and I'm being very diplomatic here, but it's a walking sim. That's what it is.
I don't even know if it's that. It's a reading text screen.
All you do is walk and read text.
Yeah, and
you do.
It's just
like the music and the atmosphere.
TV.
The music, the atmosphere and stuff. The house.
I don't think you're going to sell this on it, Chris. If I'm honest.
No. I did not get very far on this. This is absolute dross. I remember playing this and being like, what? How? Because people were talking about this like a lot when this came out.
Yeah, it was one of the best games of the year it came out. It's
supposedly, yeah. And did it come to Game Pass at some point? That's how I played it. Was it given away? I definitely didn't pay money for it.
I played it on. I played it at Xbox. No, I played it on PlayStation.
Yeah, you played it on Xbox to get the 1 minute achievement.
Mm.
Because I remember you telling me about that. I thankfully have avoided it because I took one look at it and was like, not for me. I can tolerate... I mean, I've got probably the least tolerance for indie trash of the three of us. So the chances of me playing Gone Home. I think I played Tacoma, which I quite enjoyed, which is a little bit more interactive, and
It was their second full
and it was
game.
And it was more spacey, which is more fun. There was actually stuff to do, but even that, like, I think it took 2 hours, right? And I was like, okay. But yeah, Gone Home. Chris went for Gone Home. Didn't go for Silent Hill. Went for Gone Home.
Yeah.
Right, Craig, take us home. Pick a game, please, if you can do it. If you can muster that.
So I'll pick a video game. That's
Thanks,
fine.
mate.
We can do that.
Thanks, buddy.
I think we spoke about this in the chat. How it might not be traditional horror, but I'm going to go for BioShock.
I was scared of it.
Specifically the first one, because I think that's a lot more horror than the other two. Mainly because I think the setting of it is kind of the creepy, like, the kind of atmosphere that it creates, being underwater, having like just all these like freaky enemies like around you all the time. It also has one of the like jump scares that got me the most ever in a video game. I just remember you're staring at something on a table, you turn around and there is something right in your face, and oh god, that got me, Dave. That really got me.
I luckily didn't get that far, because otherwise I would have thrown the fucking controller.
Yeah, it's that good that I still remember it now years later, and I haven't played BioShock for a long, long time. I think we spoke about it quite a lot on the podcast before. Obviously, awesome game. Had kind of a strange like combat system, but I think most people played it like I did, where you just get the wrench ability early on, and you just shock people with your electrocute power and just run up and hit them with a wrench. You spend most of the game doing that, but the story is so good and the setting is so iconic, and it's so satisfying to like explore that you kind of can forgive it for its like clanky combat. But yeah, it was a great game. Obviously, it's like one of the like highest like rated like acclaimed games of all time, and deserves it. And then it got a bit more actiony after that in 2, and is it Infinite?
Yeah, BioShock. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely BioShock 1. It's not like a traditional horror game, I wouldn't say. It's not really like a survival game or anything like that, but yeah, it's definitely got kind of a creepy atmosphere to it.
And I hate it. It's one of the big conversation points I have with my friend Pete. He's like, oh, it's so good. I'm like, yeah, I played it, didn't like it. It's trash. And I just wind him up about it the whole time. Like, I just go full, like, antagonistically, it's awful, worst game ever made. Like I do with Chris and like anything he likes. So
I think if you play it and you don't know the kind of like you have to get the wrench and hit him with that, you would think it's a terrible game.
I think as well, like I didn't play it till like 4 or 5 years after it come out, and by then there was a lot of better controlling games. And my biggest thing is gameplay. Like if I don't like the gameplay, then I'll stop playing it. So I just didn't enjoy it, and I think I had a wrench by the time I got there, and I was hitting people with it, but I was just like, yeah. It's a bit creepy. That's another reason for me not to play it, but hey, it is what it is. I was disappointed not to hear The Darkness 2 from you, Craig. I really am.
Yeah, I was tempted, but I don't know if that's probably less of a horror game.
It's more of a horror game than Gone Home.
That's true.
See, I still disagree.
What, the Darkness is less of a horror game than Gone Home?
Well, no, Gone Home's not a horror game, because I would say it sort of is.
Well, as the only person that picked a Dreamcast game, I think I have the authority on here, Chris. And no.
I could have gone for Code Veronica.
You didn't know, did you? Because you don't actually like the Dreamcast. It's all a lie. Finally comes out. Chris has never played a Sega game. He's always been Atari. Nothing else.
Yeah, in television, mate.
Television. Anyway, so that's our horror episode. It wasn't terrifying. Christmas next week, boys, so we'll just have to think of what our favourite Santa game is, and we'll be we'll be okay.
God, that'd be a lot more difficult favourite Christmas.
Be like Bayonetta 2 is at Christmas, I think.
Bayonetta 2 is at Christmas.
There was a Die Hard game on PS1. That counts, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it. That's our closing thoughts. No more talking about horror because I hate it. Don't like it. No more scary games. That's all banned now. Not allowed to play Resident Evil for the rest of the year. Chris won't play it anyway because he doesn't like it. He's going to play Gone Home. He's going to play Gone Home again.
I'm still tempted to, play Village at some point. I really want to play Resident Evil 4 VR, but it's 30 quid. I'm not paying 30 quid for it.
Isn't it on that one piece of hardware that you've bought that you haven't used?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
A tale as old as time, ladies and gentlemen. A tale as old as time.
Roger haven't sold that yet.
No.
No one wants to buy it. That's the thing. It's COVID. No one wants second-hand VR stuff.
They actually, I think they went up in price. I think people can't get them because also things in UK.
I feel like get rid of it. That's the Orion thought. Anyway, we could ramble on about this for hours. So thank you for watching the show. If you want to follow us anyway, you can follow us on the socials. As you know, EOF Gizmo, Massive Dast, somewhere in the street. Okay, but we will see you next week. Goodbye.
On home has 86 on Metacritic. It is a horror-ish game. Thanks, bye.
Reviewers are idiots.